Hello everyone and welcome back, and we're going into part 2 now of this series, and I'd like to start out with the rainbow body. So this here is a Tiggly, and what we have is a situation here of information that we could say not many wanted out, because there's great responsibility with great abilities, but there's also a lot of work, inner work, discipline that needs to go with this. And so I'll explain the rainbow body, but this is sort of one of the main things that I could show you that this is based around. Now, with this, you've got the Tibetan letter A. It's pronounced ah, and this is part of, we could say, some of the techniques of doing that and visualizing this symbol. Now, this together with the rainbow is the Tiggly, and the rainbow represents the different levels of densities. So this is a focal point, and Dream Yoga done by Namkhai Norbu is a book that goes into doing techniques with this, basically to take control and remember your dreams through a technique of visualizing this when going to sleep and then visualizing this when coming out of sleep. But you can also do this with many other symbols. With that said, Padmasambhava was said to be, to some, the guru that brought these rainbow body teachings, but it's a bit more layered than that, though I will say he's right up there with being one of the main intelligences. Now, it's said that he came to Earth in a lotus. Some say he came to Earth in an egg, spent 1,000 years in India, and then went to Tibet and took the rainbow body teachings there, and his disciples also attained rainbow body. Now, what is rainbow body? Rainbow body, the rainbow body, Dzogchen, the perfection body. It's where you leave the physical vessel. In some cases it dissolves, some cases it leaves just hair and fingernails in an ash pile. And while that's taking place, rainbow phenomena over a period of time is said to occur. There's also cases where the body will shrink over a number of days and end up about a bit bigger than baby size, and it's the person, but it's just shrunk and they've left the body in this process. There's a lot of amazing stories to do with this. David Wilcock has done amazing research on this, as well as William Henry and Father V. Tizzo, who's done an amazing book on this as well. So I recommend just checking out other sources. But Namkhai Norbu is somebody that I went through a lot of his material. He's no longer with us. We could say he is, but he's transitioned. And the rainbow body is done through a number of different methods of cutting cords, meditations, thinking love and peace, but also using, we could say, negative energy and feelings and traumas and wrong conclusions as fuel to transcend them. There's a lot to it. But in terms of Padmasambhava, he's depicted all around the world at different places in slightly different ways. And here's actually a photo. What do we have again? If you've watched part 1, I have a being very similar that's appeared as an apparition in the portal stone circle here at Jaya. And what I'll say, I hadn't revealed this until recently, this is actually a tulpa through my own technique of creating an intelligence as a guardian, which is something from Tibet where they do certain techniques and they create entities with their own consciousness. There's also egregore, which is done from a group collective conscious state. Sometimes you could put something out into the masses as an idea and all of a sudden it comes to reality through it being an egregore. But this is an example of that again. The cloud, mist apparition, as you can see here again with another one that I've taken recently. This is an angelic intelligence. And here's another one taken a while back as well at the stone circle of beings in apparition form. There's quite a number of different intelligences in there. Actually, yesterday I had one just come through the door of the home and just float on through by. So when you're doing a lot of this work and you're clearing and you're keeping the energies high, a lot of different things will pop in, which is why clearings are important. So I was showing that there because it looks very similar to Padmasambhava in some sense, but it was funny, I gave that to John Vivanka at a remote view and he said, you created that entity. And I was like, there's some confirmation. So yeah, that's the stone circle where it appeared, and there's a lot of phenomena that happens there, as well as we've got dowsing rods down there that can pick up on the energy. So yeah, but going on, here's Namkhai Norbu, and it was a Tibetan Dzogchen master. And a lot of people got upset with him originally when he was coming out, because what happened was they wanted to keep these teachings secret. Not just anyone to be working with this, but Namkhai thought this was just something that the people should have access to. There is no sect, there is no religion behind it, there's no classes, this, that, the other, though there's people teaching about it. But in this book here, which is probably one of my favourite books ever, The Crystal and the Way of Light by Namkhai Norbu, there's no 100% way of where this came from, and it is being taught apparently in 13 star systems. So here we go into a connection with extraterrestrial intelligences, to where are some of these beings possibly attaining rainbow body and traversing space and time, interfacing with other planets, being guides, spiritual beings to other places, as well as their own kind. Just some food for thought. It's just something where, I guess, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear with this information. And so, again, it's just some food for thought, and that's it. But this is one of my favourite books to go into. I saw different ways they were approached with it from Namkhai, as well as others that have written about the rainbow body. And it really resonated with me, and it was really informative. And why this has hit me is because I've had experiences with rainbow light beings. Originally, I think maybe 2012, and there was a regression that I had with Mary, which I've only had 4 regressions. Most of my experiences I remember. Mary Rodwell I'd done a regression with because of a missing time incident. And I'd seen these beings turn back and forth between rainbow light and being physical, or one in particular. But through later experiences where I was taken off world, there was the same being with others that turned into rainbow light. And it just sat in the background for many years. And then the Merkaba, the rainbow body, all these things were brought up, and it was all connected. These are the states of consciousness these beings are operating in. So it's where I even had my own revelations many years ago. So as I was saying, it said the rainbow body teachings are being taught in 13 star systems. And some of the abilities that come along, I'll give you just one example here. Here's Guru Nanak's handprint. Now, this is from Wikimedia. And while I've done this, I have got a lot of the photos of other things I could show you, but I couldn't find the original source with the other photos. It's not to say they're not real, but I want something to where you can go and research this yourself. There's one with Padmasambhava's handprint of 6 fingers in the entrance to a cave. Look that up, you'll see that, but I just couldn't find in some cases the original photo or the original person who took the photo, the story behind the photo, except the outline of what the photo apparently is or represents. So I'd prefer you go and research this yourself. Again, David Wilcock's done a heap on this as well, so great perspectives, but read books, look into it more. The more information you can get, the more knowledge is wisdom, and that is your own power. And so as we approach what we're talking about here, it does correlate to the different densities of consciousness, and also that is what the chakras represent, as well as Elohim beings that I've interfaced with. They will appear different colours, even on fire. Sometimes they can physically materialise like a humanoid being, even to the point that they would have skin, eyes and hair and what have you if they wanted to. But depending on the colour of the Elohim, when they're in an orb or a light body state, sometimes they'll be 7 foot tall light beings, sometimes they'll be columns of light. Depending on the colour depends on the domain that they operate, meaning their domain of density, because they are the creator beings. Their highest expression is an Elohim being, that its purpose is to go out and explore and gain knowledge and experience within Source. Some are purely just creator beings, some are monitors and regulators. There's different levels, and yes, there have also been the fallen ones that are responsible for some of the trials and tribulations we're facing, not just here on Earth right now and a control structure, but also other worlds, that they created the AI consciousness and distribute it, the fallen ones do, to hold a frequency to where they can control and not have to go back to source. They say as master beings in this 3D frequency and just outside of it, lower 4D or the lower astral. That's a lot to go in as well, which I do with the book of Shiji material with Shiji, who is a being from the Pleiades that I've channeled and had physical and non-physical interactions with, as well as a lot of other material I put out over the years going into this from different sources through experience. But other people are saying very similar things, and that's where you've got to take note and go with what feels right. And so when we look at this, and what I'm proposing here, because I've seen it from experience, but it's food for thought for others and a theory to everyone else, of course, is that we can go from a physical state, ignite the Merkaba, and that's one state that we can travel in. We can even break down to the photon within that and teleport elsewhere and appear again and be floating around like a light or what have you, if you're at that level of consciousness, or you can just do it astrally. But then you can go from physical to the Merkaba when you ignite that around you, and as you power that up, you can turn into rainbow light. You merge with all planes and dimensions with the rainbow body, depending on your level, because there's different levels to this. You can be a white light with a rainbow hue, and what's happening is you're breaking and you're merging into source, and through thought you can reappear anywhere you want. And you can apparently do that with the electron, breaking down to the electron, or breaking down to the photon. It all depends on the level of consciousness. Just like some of these ET vehicles, they'll turn into light and then sort of do similar to what I'm saying here now and navigate, but their technologies and the way that the technologies are in some cases grown, given a consciousness, or how they operate propulsion wise and navigation wise, there's many different ways. And here we've got the rainbow effect with the Merkaba. And so Namkai Norbu talks about merging with that white light. And that's where, through meditation practice and what have you, the more that you can get through that, you can cut your cords to wrong conclusions, judgments, traumas, and you can elevate and be in that loving, blissful state. You can shed the physical vessel and go into that rainbow body state, which I believe we've all experienced anyway, but being able to transcend that from a physical state and show human capability, why humans, we could say, are experiencing a lower vibratorial state due to influences. This is an example of human potentiality, but eventually the collective will get to experience a higher state of consciousness. Ascension's for everyone, but it depends on what level of ascension are we talking about. Now, what's very interesting with this, when we go into, let's say, the chakras and the different densities represented through each chakra, what we've got commonly around different cultures is a commonality of 7 heavens or 7 realms, or we could say the many mansions being mentioned. And we've got this in Mesopotamian religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and a similar concept is also in Hinduism. Now, I'm not a professional in everything. I've sort of just done research over the years, and you start to see this commonality. I do the best that I can representing this. This is where I say don't take everything I'm saying for gospel unless it's my own experiences, and even then I'm still evolving with learning from my own experiences. But again, yes, food for thought. So, as I've mentioned before, we can only see a fraction of 0.005% of reality. And here, this is by NASA. There's the Wikimedia link down the bottom there. We've got so much going on now. This all here, from my understanding, is a fraction of 0.005% that we can measure. And within that is just a fraction of what we can visibly see, which is the visible light spectrum with that rainbow column going up to the sky. Now, stuff that we can use and measure going more out into that 0.005% is infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, microwaves, gamma waves, and radio waves. So my point with this is there is so much we can't see, but we can feel certain things. And I'll be going into this a bit more later as well. But it's to get to the point that if that's all we can experience with our physical eyes, not to mention what we can hear, taste, smell, and feel sensation-wise, we're pretty much walking around blind compared to the full 100% of what we could experience and can when we merge with the one consciousness that we're all a part of. So Ascension and the paranormal connection. This is where you can get to a certain level of consciousness and you are the craft. That's what the Merkaba is. How you traverse is through the rainbow state. But you can also be in the rainbow state and travel around in that as well, or appear in that way. Now that can appear as a circle of a rainbow. It can be a misty apparition form with a rainbow iridescent hue energy to it. But with that said, this is where I say to people, even the extraterrestrials have spirits and angels and entities they've got to deal with. Even if they're at a higher level of consciousness, they've still got guides and they're still not the end all be all. They're still trying to ascend to higher states. That's what civilizations do. And you'll find this with, let's say, Michio Kaku talking about different stages of evolution. From my understanding, how I interpret it, you've got the type 0, 1, 2 and 3 civilizations. Well, if you get to a type 3 and you actually, and they were operating, let's say, on a planetary body, you'd get there and see nothing. Why? Because once you get to a very high expression of your own consciousness and ascended to a certain level, if you choose, you don't need the technologies that we do and buildings and structures, this, that, the other, because you're now operating at a high level of consciousness to where your technology and all the physical materialism stuff that you need, it's no longer needed. It's your inner technology that you're now operating with. So just think about that. But this is all getting to you being the craft. Again, not all UFO and UAP sightings are physical beings. It can even be our own, meaning made by Earth, human, whether it's in secret programs or what have you. And then there's 3D extraterrestrials. It goes all over the board. This is why I say don't put yourself in a box with this. Now, a connection here, and this is from the translated word of Buddha. The link is down the bottom there. And this is ancient contacts with the sky people. So in Tibet, the translated word of Buddha, completed in 1411, tells of flying pearls in the sky and of transparent spheres carrying gods to visit man. Tibetan kings came from the stars. Now, let's think about Padmasambhava for a moment. Let's think about the rainbow body being taught in different star systems. And when you look at that and look at even what I've been filming over the many years, are these the same thing? And in some cases, I would say yes. And there's a lot of art out there, and William Henry's done a great job doing this. I've just sort of combed through things, doing my own research, but art depicting Ascension and off-worlders. So here, the Last Judgment, what have we got? Yeshua here, sitting on a rainbow. Here's another one of Jesus, depicted in a white orb, with angelic intelligences around him and in the sky. And the seraphim represented there with the different wings and the eyeballs beneath. Now here we've got a saucer type, or you could say portal, or can be a craft, up in the sky, hitting Mary with a beam. It's from 1486. Here's one of the baptism of Christ, 1710. Now, what have we got here? We've got something that appears to be like a flying saucer with beams coming down. Not the first, not the last to mention this, but again, it adds to opening one's mind up, looking at things from a different perspective, and some aha moments, especially for newcomers. So we'll leave it there, and I wouldn't mind going into just a type of energy sensitivity technique with you as well, which is very simplistic if open to it. So with this technique, you just get your hands, rub them together for 10 seconds. And you'll feel a buzzing sensation on the palms. It's just to get acquainted with the sensation of energy. Just hold your hands there, a couple of inches apart. Even just try to push them in and pull them out a little bit. And you should be able to feel a sensation between your hands. I'm going to go into this with the next video at the end of it without rubbing the hands together, so you can get a different sort of perspective with sensing that energy. So you're not just rubbing your hands together feeling the heat sensation, there's a lot more to it. So we'll leave it there. Many blessings. I hope this has been beneficial for you, and love, light and bliss. See you in the next video.